Obviously, in chapter 12 here, we've been looking at rational expressions, and today is no different. We're going to look at adding and subtracting rational expressions. So we've already multiplied and divide. Today we're going to look at adding and subtracting. So just some review, adding and subtracting rational expressions is the same idea as adding and subtracting fractions. And if you remember, you need a common denominator, right? So in part A, there's already a common denominator of 3, and so remember to add fractions. The denominator stays the same. Just add your numerator. So 7 over 3 would be part A. Part B, the 6 is really 6 over 1, and so my common denominator between 7 and 1 is going to be 7. So I have 5 over 7 minus, now if the denominator here of this expression becomes 7, 1 times 7 is 7, so 6 times 7 is 42, right? And then bottom stays the same. Subtract the top. 5 minus 42 is negative 37. Okay. Part C, again, find a common denominator. So when you start looking at 3 and 8, okay, you can start listing the factors for 3. You have 6, 9, 12, 18. I missed one. 15's in there, right? 18, 21, 24, ... And then for 8, you have 16, 24, 32, ... And you'll notice the least common denominator is going to be at 24. So if I want to make the first fraction, if I want a denominator of 24, 3 times 8 is 24, 2 times 8 is 16, plus, again, I have a denominator of 24, 8 times 3 is 24, 5 times 3 is 15, and so finally, to finish this guy up, all I'm going to do is now add my numerator, so 16 and 15 makes 31 over 24. So it says find the sum or difference. Part A is nice because they've already given us a common denominator. It's x plus 3. So add the tops. So you have 3x plus x plus 7. That's just going to be 4x plus 7 over x plus 3. Done. Part B is the same way. Okay, now here's the trick in part B. What a lot of people would goof up. This negative goes to both guys on top. Okay, so you have 7x plus 8 minus parentheses x plus 3 all over 2x squared. So now you distribute the negative sign, so minus minus, so 7x minus x is 6x, and then 8 minus 3 is positive 5 over 2x squared. So again, those are as straightforward as we can get, just giving you the common denominator. Alright, if the rational expressions have different denominators, you must find their LCD, okay, least common denominator. Alright, so we're going to find the least common multiple of these expressions. Alright, and so when you look at part A here, the way you can do this is the multiples of 2x are 2 and x. The multiples of 18x are well, first you look at the 18, okay, and the multiples of 18 are 2 and 9, and then you just have an x, okay, and so what we end up having here is, since you have the 2 and the x in both, I don't have to worry about those, okay, there's still going to be a 2x, so the least common multiples, there's still going to be a 2x, and then everything that's left over in either one you have to multiply by. So you have 2x, and then you have times that 9, so the least common multiple here would be 18x. Okay. In part B, again, for the first one, for 7x squared, you have 7x, and x are your multiples, and then for 6x to the third, we have 6x, x. Okay, and so what you do is, again, you identify any that are the same in both. So for example, those x's and those x's are the same, so I know I at least have an x squared. Okay, but then I have to take that x squared, I have to multiply it by the 7, because that's left over, the 6, because that's left over, and the x, because that's left over. So my least common multiple here is going to be 7 times 6 is 42, x squared and x makes x to the third. Alright? For part C, okay, obviously x plus 5 is its only multiple, and x minus 7 is its only multiple. So again, those two things are kind of left over, and so the least common multiple here is going to be x plus 5 times x plus 7. So again, list the factors, common factors, and then non-common factors, and multiply them. Part E, so if I look at this expression, I can break that down into x minus 3 times x plus 2. And if I look at this expression, that's x plus 2 and x minus 2. So when I look at these, you'll notice x plus 2 and x plus 2 in both. Okay, so that guy, we're going to start with that. So x plus 2 is in both. And then I got to multiply every non-common factor. So I have an x plus 3, or x minus 3 here, and I have an x minus 2 there. So this would be my least common multiple. Okay. Again, I know this is probably something that's not 100% comfortable for you yet, but we'll hopefully get there. So if I look at part F again, x plus 1, common, so x plus 1 is going to go first. And then from there, I have to multiply by every other factor. So I have x plus 1, which is this guy here. I have to bring this one down, so I have x minus 2. And I got to bring this guy down, that's x minus 5. So this expression here would be my least common multiple. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but accurate nonetheless. Okay, so now if you look at part A here, it says add. Okay, again, to add, I have to have the same denominator, so I have to find the least common multiple. So I have 4x squared, and I have 8x to the third. Okay, so I have 2x, x, and then over here for the 8, I have 2, x, x, and x. So, 2's. Okay, so right away I know I have on the bottom, I'm going to have a 4 times x and x, so I have an x squared. And then I also have to multiply every non-common multiple as well. So I have a 2 and an x left over, so I multiply by 2x. So that is going to be my denominator. Okay. So actually, let me rewrite this over here. So my least common denominator is going to be 4x squared 2x. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and combine all of that into one nice expression. So I have 4 and 2, that's 8. X squared and x is x to the third. So 8x to the third is my common multiple, or my least common denominator, I should say. So I have, let me grab a different color here. So my denominator is going to be 8x to the third plus 8x to the third. So I ask myself, what do I have to multiply 4x squared by to get 8x to the third, and that's 2x. Okay, so if I multiply the bottom by 2x, I got to multiply the top by 2x. And obviously my second expression is not going to change. And so I end up at 6x squared over 8x to the third plus x plus 4 over 8x to the third. And so now now that I have a common denominator, I can add the tops. So I get 6x squared plus x plus 4, all of that over 8x to the third. Okay. For part B, again, I look at the multiples. This guy's, the only multiple of x is x, the only multiple of x plus 3 is x plus 3. So my common denominator is going to be x times x plus 3. Alright, so when I do that, again, if I look at this first expression, to go from x to this expression, I got to multiply the top by x plus 3. And then, again, my common denominator is still x times x plus 3. And so for the second term, I have x plus 3, so I got to multiply top and bottom by x. So I have 2x times x. So I get 6x plus 18 over x parentheses x plus 3 plus 2x squared over x parentheses x plus 3. And so finally, I can finish this thing up by saying 2x squared plus 6x plus 18, all of that over x parentheses x plus 3. Okay, and so that's all we're looking at. So when I break these things down, I look at the first term, it's 5x over, I can factor this, it's x, and it's going to be minus 3 minus 2 plus 3x plus 1 over, I have x minus 5 minus 2. And so now, what you're going to do is you recognize x minus 2, that's already in both. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to look at your denominators and you're going to multiply the top and the bottom by any of the non-common factors. So in other words, you're still going to have x minus 3, you're still going to have the x minus 2, but when I look at this expression here, as it compares to this one, okay, the only thing I'm missing is the x minus 5, so I got to include that x minus 5. Well, if I multiply the bottom by x minus 5, got to multiply the top by x minus 5. Plus, and then I do the same thing for the second part. I have x minus 5 and x minus 2. Well, we just said our common denominator is going to be this term here, so I have to include that x minus 3 from the first expression. And then if I multiply the bottom by x minus 3, I got to multiply the top by x minus 3. I'm going to extend the page here a little bit. Alright, now I start simplifying. So on top here I have 5x squared minus 25x plus, I'm going to FOIL this out, so I get 3x squared minus 9x, I'm going to run out of room. I already did that. Plus x minus 3. All of that over x minus 3, x minus 2, x minus 5. So last step is combine like terms. 5x squared, 3x squared, that's 8x squared. Negative 25x, negative 9x, that's negative 34x, plus x, so it's negative 33x. And then the only thing I have left is minus 3, and again that's all over x minus 3, x minus 2, x minus 5. So again, not easy, okay, but that's how we're going to add and subtract these rational expressions. I'm going to do part A and B here, and then this will kind of take us home, and you guys can figure out the rest on your own. So for part A, again, however you want to do this, just break down each expression. So I have 3 times x minus 3 minus x plus 4 over x plus 3, x minus 3. And then your common denominator is going to be, you have to compare your denominators now and just make sure that every single thing is included, okay, in your new common denominator. So the 3 is going to be included. The x minus 3 is going to be included. Now, since I've already included it, I'm not going to include this x minus 3 as well. X minus 3 is already taken care of. And then I have x plus 3. And so again, I look at the first term, I have 7. The only difference between this denominator and this one is I've added in the x plus 3, so I got to multiply by x plus 3 on top, minus, and it's the same idea, I'm going to have the same denominator, so I have 3 parentheses x minus 3, x plus 3. And again, when I compare this denominator with this one, there's 2 differences. I have x plus 4. I have to multiply, actually there's only one difference, I got to multiply by the 3. Okay, and so now I just simplify. So on top I have 7x plus 21, and then I have minus, I have 3x plus 12. Not sure why the smartboard's not reading there. All of that over 3 parentheses x minus 3 parentheses x plus 3. And then the final step here is just combining, so distribute the negative sign. Alright, and so what I have is I have 7x minus 3x, that's 4x. And I have 21 minus 12, which is positive 9. All of that over 3 parentheses x minus 3, x plus 3. And so that's what we're looking at.